some wonderful seniors, and not only seniors, juniors, with the Syrian refugee, the piano keys, and they raise a lot of, they say $46,000. I'm surprised it's not more, because a lot of people are interested in this and involved in this. And the people who are in charge of it do a really good job of conveying that this is important to me. You know, this is my family background. I have a real emotional tie to this. It really works. Okay, character. That's kind of hard, isn't it? What kind of person are you? And what kind of person are you comes through in how you spend your time. So I think with colleges, they're interested in how does the student spend his or her time. So if you spend your time learning for yourself so that you can win prizes, win Olympiads and things. And we have students who do very well in these Olympiads, and it really does show that you have a strong body of knowledge. But if that's all you do, then maybe that's what you'll do in the future. Maybe you'll be a person who likes to learn, and that's very valuable for college admission. But maybe you don't, you're not that interested in maybe the big picture, or helping other people, or maybe, this really is a tough category, because I really can't think of students I really don't think are pretty great. Very few people are actually funny, right? Very few people are actually funny. But if you're funny, believe me, we will write that. And the colleges will be able to tell if you're funny. Funny is pretty valuable because there's a wit, there's an intellect there. If you're funny, if you're kind, you can really read through. I mean, of course, we're reading these essays to make sure it comes through. Kindness is very, very important in a college application, to show that you're not going to be somebody who's going to be a horrible roommate. You're going to be a plus to the campus, because you know the reality is, they don't need me. Colleges don't need me. If I'm nasty, if they're going to have to replace my roommate every 3 weeks, they will, you know what I mean? Because I actually am up all night watching murder mysteries. That would be something I would not include in my college application. But, so they're looking for kind people. They really are. Some colleges more than others.
Sure.
Yes?
On the character thing, when the students are putting together their resume, you know, it's not something that necessarily a student can directly point to, because character is subjective in many ways.
Yeah.
I think character comes around the question of when the students choose to do certain activities, if they're able to articulate why they choose to do that activity, and it seems authentic to the reader. I think that's, and then maybe it's also echoed in the letters of recommendation that either the teachers or counselors are writing for that student as well. I think that's when a college can start to make a sense of the student's character. But Cheryl's absolutely right. We're in conferences that I go to, colleges are talking about we want nice kids. We want kids that are motivated to help and do good. And it is kind of a backlash to, I think, maybe about 5-6 years ago. A lot of like, I want to be that this, that's carried, right? So this is one example, but
If you school as when you choose to do some of your activities,
Yes.
say working in the humane
Yes.
society, it falls to your requirement, it's a sensitive person, usually.
sure. So the thing with, so when you're talking about service, the student, our students do a lot of service, and a lot of the service our students do, they don't even report to Mrs. Keeler to get their, life points, they just do it, they enjoy doing it. When it's just listed on the resume, I mean, they could draw certain conclusions by seeing on the resume, but it's spoken to in somewhere to say, here's why I chose this organization, here's why I do this, and here's what I get out of it, and here's what I hope others get out of it. It's a really delicate and difficult thing to pinpoint, and that's where, it can't be manufactured. It has to ultimately be authentic from the student. The teachers and counselors are going to pick up on that and talk about that. And it's just, the counselors are going to hear the authenticity through the student's way and how they explain it.
How about something as simple as, I have a kid who has breakfast every Saturday morning with his grandfather because he chooses.
So those kind of stories are great stories that we can start a letter of recommendation with. Sometimes, maybe the student writes about it, and the essays that they're given are sometimes limiting, or that story wouldn't quite get to the question that the college is really asking. But if we know about those things, which, when 16-year-old boys would say, hey, I need to tell my college counselor I have breakfast, but if somehow we're aware of those stories, those are great things to put in a letter of recommendation. I mean, that's a great way to start with a recommendation about those stories. So that's why when your sons and daughters look at our questionnaire, and it's thick, and we have a lot of questions, and they're looking at it and saying, I got so much to do, and now they're asking me all these questions of why are they asking this question? What does this have to do with me wanting to be an engineer? What does this have to do with me wanting to go into business? Those are the things that we're trying to pull from them. They don't, when I was 16, oh my God, I wouldn't have been thinking about that kind of stuff. But now, if they can give us just those little nuggets, and then when we have a meeting, and I read, maybe they don't even realize what they did by opening that door just a little bit for us, and then we're gonna start asking probing questions. I'm gonna take a bunch of notes as I'm sitting there as they're talking, and then that's a mental note for me. This is going into this recommendation. So, yeah, encourage them to share a lot, and if anything, overshare. We'll figure out what we need and what we don't. I tell this to my students all the time. Give me more, if you have to ask yourself, does Mr. Greenwald need to know this? The answer is yes, then I'll figure out what I'm gonna do. Right? I'd rather have too much than too much. Okay, sorry.
If I give you an example of a young man who is currently at MIT, he wanted to go to a highly competitive school, so you probably do need some service if you're going to do that. Okay, probably that's going to be a miss if that's not there. Does it have to be the whole focus of your application? It does not. So his father set this up. You're going to go to India, okay? We've got family in India, and you're going to do. Here are your options, and there are lots of options in India, right? You could work at a hospital, you could work at an orphanage, you could teach a Microsoft Word class to some children at a rural school. Maybe he had 4 or 5 things. And so this kid says, I'm going to do the easiest thing. I'm not going to work in an orphanage. I'm not going to work in a hospital. He's really not that touchy-feely, to tell you the truth, okay? And I'm going to teach the Microsoft Word class to 10-year-olds in this village in India. That's what he chose to do. And now this kid is really technologically savvy and whatever. So he thought this was going to be easy. And he had, I don't know, 6 weeks. He had it mapped out. Here's what they're going to know at the end of the 6 weeks. And he just, he had it so they were going to have maybe a couple hours of homework every night and show up, and then he was going to go back to his family's house in India and, hang out with his cousins and play video games, and he was going to spend a couple hours at this school, right? So he shows up, and he speaks, this is a hard word for me to say, Gujarati, say it the right way.
Gujarati.
Okay. He doesn't speak it very well, though. He thought it was good enough, right? Well, students don't understand him. So then he's thinking, ugh, I'm going to have to work harder at my language. Okay, I'm going to have to pay more attention. He really showed up thinking, you know, I'll just be sitting on my phone while I give these kids some, you know, assignments. Well, that did not work. They actually didn't have any computers. These were the only computers they had, and they were kind of old. So his language, he had to work on his language skills. He gave them assignments, and what he didn't realize is they have to go home at night and work on the farm. They're not going to go home at night and work on your, you know, whatever you're trying to teach kids. So he had to have everything he taught them in that school day. And so he had to make the school day longer. First of all, he couldn't understand every third word he was saying, and then he had to make the school day longer. And so then he realized that, you know, he doesn't understand these folks at all, and this is his heritage too. He just didn't understand them. He'd spent his whole life here, and so after school, rather than wandering home to his cousins, he was actually kind of interested in what these kids were doing. And so some of them invited him to their homes, and he found out that he wasn't just showing up at his, you know, uncle's house at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He was spending the day with these kids. And that was he wrote that as a Common App essay, in that that was the failure. Things that didn't go the prompt was things that didn't go as you thought. And what he never wrote was, I actually cared about these folks. But it was clear through everything that he said. Number one, if I'm here to teach you Microsoft Word, you're going to learn Microsoft Word. If I have to stay here all night, I do care that you've learned it. I also care about you. I didn't understand your culture, I just didn't. I'm a kid from America who, you know, does very, very little, quite frankly. Schoolwork comes very easily to this young man. And I just didn't understand. And I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful college essay that showed that kindness. And it was through he didn't expect, actually, to have this experience. He really picked the easiest of everything that was offered to him. Another college essay, this just adorable young man who graduated in 2015, works at the hospital. Both of his parents are physicians, okay? He volunteers at the hospital. I can't remember which hospital. What do you do, I asked him, at the hospital? I deliver prescriptions, okay? You do? I didn't know people did that. I didn't know that volunteers did that. So he delivers prescriptions. So I'm the nosiest person in the world. I am. It's pathological. So if I were delivering prescriptions, I would be looking to see, what is this prescription, right? What's wrong with this person? And so I asked him, what's pretty much wrong with people at the hospital? Can you find any patterns? And I thought he was going to tell me that he's delivering statins to people on, you know, everybody's on a statin, or everybody's on a painkiller, everybody's he just I don't know. His mother was sitting right in the office. And I said, well, what ward are you going to? He didn't realize that the hospital was divided into wards. He was just delivering to people. He had found no pattern in this at all. She was shocked. The mother was shocked. And this is a brilliant young man. And I said, you will come back to me in 2 weeks and you're going to answer the following questions. What's wrong with people? What ward are you going to? What's happening in the hospital, okay? Here's what it was. He worked on Saturdays. He came back. He worked on Saturdays. And basically, they're not typically doing procedures that are elective on Saturdays. The only people who he said they were delivering babies. He figured out that how would he not figure that out, by the way? Is there a baby in your room? I don't know. He was delivering medications mainly to the obstetric ward. And so he could answer all these questions after 2 weeks, and I gave him a list of questions he's got to answer for me, right? I want you to be nosy. I want you to... So one of his not common up applications, one of his supplementary essays, was one day he was delivering his pills as usual, not pills, but the prescription, and this woman who had dementia started talking to him. And he's thinking, I got pills to deliver, right? But he sits there and he listens to her, and he realizes that she thinks he's his grandson. She thinks he's her grandson. And this essay kind of meandered through the way he thought, how much trouble am I going to get into? Do people really need these prescriptions? I mean, do they need them right now? Somebody else is going to deliver them. There are a whole slew of volunteers here. What's more important? He meandered us through his thinking, okay? Now that was a young man who 2-3 months earlier would not have been able to write that essay because he didn't know what he was doing. Like the young lady who didn't know why, and I kept saying, well, what is harder about electric cars? And finally, after a while, she was able to say, well, electric cars need to be light, and we need to get the aerodynamics, and there needs to be a way to fuel the cars. And she was able to have a very big conversation about cars and things like that really she hadn't thought of. So like Josh is saying, it's not really what you do, it's in your ability to talk about it. I'm going to tell you, our students are kind, aren't they? They are genuinely kind. We're not making stuff up. They're kind. We just need to bring that out. It is important. And service is kind of related to kindness in that it's not very often I run across somebody who just all the effort is for himself or herself. Almost all of us have some sort of service. But just from the college perspective, what's important is not that you're doing something, at a very high level. It's that you're doing something that you will continue to do when you're older, something that you're going to be committed to. This scholarship application I was working on for the young man at Cornell, he spent an entire semester as an assistant, a teaching assistant at a prison, a maximum security prison, teaching a new teaching course. And so he wrote about this. He wrote about what he saw in the prison, how he related to the folks in the prison, how he could see sometimes why people wind up in prison. This is something that will stay with him forever. When he's my age, he's going to remember this experience. And so, and whatever he's doing in the world, he's definitely going to make a mark on the world, I will promise you that. And when he's doing it, he's going to have a soft spot for the folks who he believes, we were talking about this a couple of days ago, just the hand that they've been dealt, in a way.